Sandra here. With version 6 of Shortcuts a lot, you can now do data source files, which means if you have things like Christmas cards and a postage list, you can actually set it up to create your labels and to automatically do them all for you, which is probably very useful if you've got a large amount of family. If you have a business, it can also be used for things like stock numbers, guarantee numbers, all that sort of stuff. So I've got a basic file here which I have drawn. I'm just going to check that my inside line there is set to print, which it is. Okay. So to do this, we need a spreadsheet, and I've got one which I've created here. Now it's got the name of my person or animal, it's got the house, the street, I've got a colour associated with it, and I've got an image associated with it. So you need to get all this information into your spreadsheet, and regarding the image, you need a path for the computer to find that image. So if you're going to create a file, the best thing to do is to create it and put it where you want it to stay, and then create a path to that file and the image within it. That way you won't be coming unstuck by having to move your files to different places in order to find them. A lot easier not to have to bother with that, believe me. So back into here, how do we do this? Well, we want to set it up to print, and the only cut line I have here is my outer one there. So I've got my name here, and when you go over here you see data source name, because I've actually put my information into the data source already. So I'll go to edit data source and you can see what is actually in here. So when you come down to the file, you choose the file that you want. Mine is revised test CSV, and then you put in whatever it is that you want. So you'd put in, for example, name, where the source is, which is the file, and then we would come down to separate it. Now I didn't alter this and it works fine, that's okay. Start column. Now if you get confused about where that is, you can view the data here. So your start column is column number 1, but it has a column header. If you don't tick that, then you're going to start up here, which obviously you don't want to do. Auto increment, so you can choose how many lines it goes down to get the next one. Obviously this is going to be on every line. And then the data type, which in this case is text because it says name. Now it could be that you have an image, or it could be that you have a colour that you're trying to do, but in this particular case it is text. Now when it comes to the colour setting, if you want to change things in the way of colour for your colour fills, then what you can do is put in a hex colour into your file. So you will need to find the hex colour of whatever colour it is that you want and list them in that file in the same way as everything else is listed. When it comes to images, as I mentioned, you have to have the address of the image. So mine might be user, Sandra, desktop, and then the name of the image, whatever it is. There is a relatively easy way on the Mac of finding the image address, and I'm sure there's a fairly easy way to do it on Windows as well. Okay, so you just put all that information in. Once you've got all your information in, and you click on the add to add each particular line of information. If you need to change anything, you click on update afterwards. You can remove lines, you can remove all of it, whatever. And you can just click on OK. So if I come in here, I've got name, and I have to check data source, name, yeah, that's fine. If I come to the next one, I've got house, yeah, that's okay. The next one is street. Yeah, that's coming up okay. This one is image. Yeah. And that pink one there is color. All right. So now I come in here and I go to preview because I want to see what it's going to look like. So I'm going to start at page number 1 and I'm going to have 2 columns, rows of 6, and maximum copy I want is only 1. There we go. Total pages 1. And let's preview. Let's see what I've got. Okay, so I've got Porky Pig there. Now, if I do maximum copies, go to 10. Well, let's see what I get on my preview. There we go. Now this one is an extra because I don't actually have 10 images. I've only got 9. But we can see that that is working. So I can say make pages and it will actually make a page up for me. So I click on OK, get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of this one here. That's not what I want. So I've got Porky Pig, Straw Cottage, Fairy Tale Lane, etc, etc. And all my backgrounds are a different colour because I've set them to do that. Now obviously in this particular case I haven't placed my images that well because I haven't made my labels big enough, but I can adjust that if I need to. But the basic premise is there that you input your information from your spreadsheet and then it uses that spreadsheet to create all your various labels. Very useful and something that we did not have in Shortcut Slot 5. Now, if you're not sure about data source, there's a lot of information in this column on the left-hand side that tells you how to use it. Even goes through the information of how to create your path to image file, which is very, very useful. If you're not used to this kind of thing, it just shows you examples of what it might be. Also, it gives you information of how the dates can be set up if you're trying to do it with consecutive dates, which some people might be using, and goes through things like the auto increment, etc. So read through that before you create your file and it should be very useful for you. Now the great thing with this is that it allows you to then load different data sources for different things that you might be doing. So you might have a data source for stock control, you might have another one for addresses and things of that nature. And you can keep all this relatively simply and create your files as you need to send things out or to create your labels for your products. So very handy.